Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching The World Report. Let's first take a look at the headlines. The LA wildfire death toll has risen to at least 10 as infernos continue to rip through the county. As many as 10,000 structures have been destroyed in the most devastating fires to ever hit LA. President-elect Donald Trump says that Russian leader Vladimir Putin has asked for a meeting. Trump says talks are being arranged as Putin looks to end the bloody mess of the Ukraine war. Meanwhile, the US Supreme Court has rejected a last-minute bid from Trump to cool off the sentencing in his hush money case. The president-elect will be sentenced today, 10 days before his inauguration. As Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro prepares to be sworn in for a third term, opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has reportedly been detained. Aides say she was later released after leading protests against Maduro amid election fraud claims. We continue with Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who's been arrested after reappearing in public for the first time in months. The arrest took place just a day before President Nicolas Maduro's third inauguration. Machado's political group reported that government forces fired at her convoy during the incident. While she has since been released, the Maduro government called it a media distraction. Let's take a look at the report.
Venezuela opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has been arrested after reappearing in public for the first time in months a day before the disputed third inauguration of President Nicolas Maduro. Machado, aged 57, was violently intercepted in eastern Caracas and the motorcycle convoy in which she was riding was shot at. The opposition added that she was forced to record several videos while being held.
Va a ser que de una vez ya caiga la tiranía. Esto era lo que estábamos capaz, ella sabía que esto iba a pasar. Ella va con todos, a ella no la tocan, la van a tocar, ya está, muertos, ya está, ya esto termina. O sea, hoy con esto yo sé y reafirmo y confirmo que la tiranía termina hoy.
Ya no puedo hablar con mis familiares en Venezuela porque tienen miedo de decirme algo a través de WhatsApp y que arremeten contra ellos. Pero bueno, con la fe y esperanza de que ella es nuestra líder y sabemos que va a hacer algo por Venezuela.
Maduro, aged 62, was declared the winner of last July's presidential election, but the opposition and many countries, including the US, reject the result as fraudulent and recognize the now exiled opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as the legitimate president-elect. Gonzalez fled Venezuela in September and has been living in Spain, but this month he went on a tour of the Americas to rally international support. The Maduro government has issued an arrest warrant for him, offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to his detention. Machado, whom Gonzalez replaced on the ballot after she was barred from running herself, has also been targeted. She went into hiding soon after the disputed elections and was last seen in public in August before Thursday's rally. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now for some updates from across the world of business. TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, reported fourth quarter revenue that surpassed market expectations. It is driven by strong demand for artificial intelligence. The company, which serves clients like Apple and Nvidia, has capitalized on the rise of AI to maintain growth, even as demand for chips in consumer electronics like tablets has slowed since the pandemic. Sunak, China's shares and bonds dropped after a liquidation petition was filed against the company. This raised concerns about its ability to recover and repay debts, despite an offshore debt restructuring in 2023. The petition filed by China Syndham Asset Management will be heard on March the 19th. Other mainland developers like Evergrande and Country Garden have also faced liquidation cases. Most Asian stocks fell ahead of the important payrolls report on Friday, following US futures. The report could cause Treasury yields and the US dollar to rise. Nasdaq and S&P 500 futures were down by 0.3%. US markets were closed for Jimmy Carter's funeral. European stocks are expected to open flat, reflecting concerns in global bond markets. Pacific Palisades, a pricey neighbourhood in Los Angeles, has been hit by wildfires. It's home to Hollywood celebrities and expensive mansions. Before the fire, insurance costs were some of the lowest in the United States. However, with the expected scale of losses and recent regulatory changes, homeowners may face higher insurance rates in wildfire-prone areas. Nvidia has criticised the Biden administration's plan to impose new restrictions on AI chip exports. The company urged Biden not to make a last-minute policy decision that could harm the US economy. Nvidia Vice President Ned Finkel said that such a move would benefit US adversaries and set America back. The statement came via email. Apollo Global Management is considering a large investment in a plan to take 7&A private. The investment could be up to 1.5 trillion yen. Apollo would join 7&I's founding into family and Atichi Corp. As major investors, the A2 family is planning to invest around 500 billion yen, with Itochu committing over 1 trillion yen. Just a little over a week ahead of US President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration on January the 20th, the US Supreme Court has rejected his latest bid to delay sentencing in the hush money case. He will be sentenced in the case on Friday in Manhattan. Here's the report.
President-elect Donald Trump can be sentenced Friday in his New York hush money case, the Supreme Court said in a 5-4 ruling. The High Court on Thursday rejected Trump's emergency request to delay the proceeding, setting the stage for him to be sentenced just days before he is inaugurated on January 20th for a second term. 4 conservative justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh said they would have granted Trump's request. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett joined the court's 3 liberals to side against Trump. Judge Juan Merchan, the New York judge who oversaw Trump's trial, had ordered sentencing in the case for Friday morning, but has signaled that Trump will face neither penalties nor prison time. The sentencing hearing is scheduled for Friday at 9:30 a.m. Trump will appear virtually, according to a person familiar with the plans, joining the proceedings from Mar-a-Lago. In a brief, 1-paragraph statement, the court said that some of Trump's concerns could be handled in the ordinary course on appeal. The court also reasoned that the burden sentencing would impose on Trump's responsibilities is relatively insubstantial in light of the trial court's stated intent to impose no penalty. The president-elect's request at the US Supreme Court was an extraordinary appeal because the justices rarely dip into a state criminal case before all appeals in state courts are fully exhausted. Trump's underlying challenge to his conviction is still pending, and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg argued the Supreme Court did not have jurisdiction to even consider the emergency request to delay the sentencing. Trump was convicted in May of falsifying business records over payments to his then-lawyer Michael Cohen to reimburse a $130,000 hush money payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in order to keep her from speaking out about an alleged affair before the 2016 election. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now head to the Indo-Pacific region for more of the latest news updates. Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's security chief Park Chung-jun has spoken out against what he calls unfair treatment of the impeached leader. Park, himself under investigation for obstructing duty in a recent standoff, argued that the effort to arrest a sitting president is unjust. He further warned that bloodshed must be avoided. Japan has approved new sanctions against Russia targeting individuals, groups and organisations aiding Russia's efforts to evade sanctions. The measures include freezing assets and banning exports. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa emphasised that the sanctions reinforce Japan's commitment to the G7's push to hold Russia accountable. The Commission of Air Quality Management has implemented Stage 3 restrictions under the Graded Response Action Plan in India's capital Delhi due to rising air pollution and deteriorating air quality. The AQI reached 357 on January the 9th, following a sharp increase from January the 8th. CAQM has urged citizens to follow GRAP 3 restrictions and emphasised that Stage 1 and 2 measures will remain in effect. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai will attend a girls' education summit in Pakistan, her home country, where she was shot by the Taliban in 2012. Yousafzai, who was targeted for her activism, has returned to Pakistan only a few times since being shot at. She expressed excitement about joining Muslim leaders for the important conference on girls' education in a post on X. Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya will visit the Philippines on Tuesday and Wednesday. The trip is being undertaken to enhance Japan's strategic partnership with the country amid growing security challenges. Both countries are strong US allies focused on countering China's expanding influence in the region. Changhua Telecom, Taiwan's major telecom provider, reported a damaged international undersea cable earlier this month. The company also alerted Taiwan's Coast Guard about a suspicious vessel in the area, which officials suspect may have been involved in cutting the cable. The vessel is linked to China. While no direct evidence has been found, Taiwan's authorities are concerned about operations that could disrupt the island's communications and security. Devastating wildfires in Los Angeles have left a trail of destruction, claiming lives and reducing celebrity mansions to rubble. As the death toll rises and iconic landmarks vanish, here's how the city is coping with its worst blaze in history.
Wildfires in Los Angeles have killed at least 10 people and destroyed over 5,300 structures in Pacific Palisades, home to Hollywood elites. Among the ruins lies the historic ranch of silent film star Will Rogers, an icon of early Hollywood. The Pacific Palisades property, preserved for decades and featured in modern films, is now a charred memory of its former grandeur.
This looks like the apocalypse, to be honest with you. It just doesn't feel like the normal things that happen in your life. This is something very unusual about what's going on, in my humble opinion, right now.
Celebrity homes, including those of Billy Crystal, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Paris Hilton, have been completely destroyed.
I think it's something that happens often, so I think we're kind of used to it, but, it is a tourist area, so that's sad.
In addition to the heartbreak, police have arrested 20 people for looting abandoned homes, prompting curfews in affected areas. Meanwhile, arson investigations are underway for multiple blazes, adding a sinister dimension to the catastrophe. As firefighters battle the flames, survivors vow to rebuild, showing resilience in the face of destruction. A city burns, landmarks vanish, and lives are lost. Los Angeles faces a long road to recovery from its deadliest wildfires yet. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We'll stay in North America for more latest news updates. The US government has succeeded in temporarily blocking Khalid Sheikh Mohammed from pleading guilty. He is the accused mastermind of the 9/11 terror attacks. This comes due to a dispute over the terms of a pre-trial agreement. Mohammed and 2 co-defendants have reached deals. They will plead guilty in exchange for avoiding a death penalty trial. TikTok appeared before the US Supreme Court on Friday. It made a last-ditch effort to overturn a ban in a case testing the limits of national security and free speech. The popular social media platform has challenged a law passed last year. The law orders the firm to split from its Chinese owner or face a block from the US by 19th of January. The party of outgoing Kenneth. The decision comes ahead of the 2025 general elections. The Liberal Party's National Board of Directors met formally on Thursday evening. They discussed and outlined the initial rules for the upcoming leadership race. JD Vance has officially resigned from his Senate seat. He's preparing to become Vice President later this month. Vance, who served 2 years of his 6-year Senate term, informed Ohio government. Mike DeWine was informed of Vance's plans in a resignation letter on Thursday. The letter stated that Vance's resignation would be effective at midnight. A firefighting aircraft was grounded on Thursday. It was struck by a drone while flying over the Palisades near the Pacific coast. This was reported by the Federal Aviation Administration. The incident occurred on the 3rd day of the wildfire that's been taking over LA, one of 5 active wildfires across the county. However, the aircraft landed safely and the FAA has stated that the incident is under investigation. Customs officials at Puerto Vallarta International Airport in Jalisco have arrested a Canadian tourist. He was found carrying a large sum of cash and undeclared checks. According to the Federal Attorney General's office, they seized 2 checks totaling $148,000. They also found 3,500 and 30,260 pesos in cash. Lebanon has elected Joseph Aoun as president, ending a 2-year political deadlock with strong support from the US and Saudi Arabia. Aoun vows to address Lebanon's crisis, centralise weapons control and oversee a ceasefire with Israel while rebuilding southern Lebanon. Here's the report.
Lebanon's parliament has elected the army chief, Joseph Aoun, to be the country's new president. This marks an end to years-long political stalemate and presidential vacuum. The US-supported army chief was voted president after 2 rounds of voting. This followed strong efforts by Saudi Arabia and the United States to garner support for Aoun, who has close ties with both Washington and Riyadh. After he was declared president, Aoun effectively stepped down as army chief. He arrived in parliament to be sworn in dressed in civilian clothing. This move highlights the diminished influence of the Iran-backed Hezbollah group following its devastating war with Israel. In his acceptance speech, Aoun declared that a new phase in Lebanon's history has begun. He pledged to address the country's economic and political crises and promised to centralize weapon control under the state's authority, referencing Hezbollah's arsenal. Aoun also committed to rebuilding southern Lebanon and other areas damaged by Israel and preventing future Israeli attacks.
ويمنع التهريب ويحارب الإرهاب ويحفظ وحدة الأراضي اللبنانية ويطبق القرارات الدولية ويحترم اتفاق الهدنة ويمنع الاعتداءات الإسرائيلية على الأراضي اللبنانية.
Aoun secured 99 votes from the 128-seat parliament to win the presidency in a second round of voting on Thursday afternoon. Before this, there were 12 failed attempts to elect a president over the last 2 years. US Ambassador Lisa Johnson, attending the session, expressed her contentment with the election results. Moreover, with just 17 days remaining in the ceasefire, international pressure increased for a successful outcome. The Lebanese army is set to deploy alongside UN peacekeepers in South Lebanon as the Israeli army withdraws, with the 60 days ending on January 26th. Aoun faces the challenge of overseeing the ceasefire and appointing a prime minister to implement reforms required by international creditors to address Lebanon's worst economic crisis. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Let's now take a look at some news updates from across South America. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva may change officials in his cabinet before a meeting with ministers scheduled for January the 21st. In an interview with TV channel Globo News, Costa said that the only change decided on so far was that of Lula's spokesman, but other swaps could come in the following weeks. Lula da Silva also said on Thursday that social media company Meta's decision to scrap its fact-checking program in the US was extremely serious and that he would discuss the matter in a meeting with government officials. Chilean officials unanimously rejected a mining and port project in the latest twist in more than a decade of legal and regulatory deliberation over a $3 billion investment that pitted environmental protection against economic growth. Chilean fresh produce exports are set to power ahead in the coming years. The country's industry is committed to quality and innovation in support of this growth. This was a key takeaway from the summit in Chile held in Santiago on the 22nd of October. Peru's central bank trimmed its benchmark interest rate by 25 basis points to settle at 4.75% on Thursday, surprising analysts who expected the country's monetary authority to hold the rate steady at 5%. Peru has since September 2023 gradually eased the key lending rate from a high of 7.75% it held through the first part of the year. Brazilian footballer Neymar has announced that the FIFA World Cup in 2026 will be his last, adding he is confident that Brazil will qualify for the finals in North America. Once one of football's most feared forwards, Neymar plays club football with Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal, but has suffered long stretches on the sidelines due to reoccurring injuries. Donald Trump has confirmed that a meeting is being arranged between himself and Russian President Vladimir Putin. While the exact timeline remains unclear, Trump emphasised the need to end the Russia-Ukraine war, calling it a bloody mess. Let's take a look at the report.
United States President-elect Donald Trump has said a meeting is being set up between him and Russian President Vladimir Putin, but the Republican offered no timeline for talks between the two leaders. Trump said in remarks before a meeting with Republican governors at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida on Thursday.
President Putin wants to meet. He's said that even publicly. And we have to get that war over with. That's a bloody mess. Soldiers are being killed by the millions. I looked at some very graphic pictures yesterday. The soldiers that are being killed, you know, it's a flat field. The only thing that stops a bullet is a body.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Putin would welcome Trump's desire for contact, but so far there have been no formal requests. It would be more appropriate to wait for Trump to take office first, Peskov said. The US president-elect made his statement about meeting Putin just a week and a half before taking office, following promises during his campaign to bring peace to Ukraine, at war for nearly 3 years following Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Trump could be decisive in the outcome of the 34-month-old war with Russia and help stop Putin. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We'll now head to Europe for more latest news updates. Russia accuses Ukraine of using a HIMARS missile to hit a supermarket in Donetsk, killing 2 and injuring 2. The attack, which occurred during the morning rush hour, also caused significant damage to nearby buildings and vehicles. A senior Russian-backed official confirmed the blast. An apartment in Svitlodarsk was also struck, with casualties reported. No immediate response from Ukraine, and the details remain unverified. Coalition talks with Austria's far-right Freedom Party will start on Friday after the party won the September election. FPO leader Herbert Kickl is tasked with forming a government following the collapse of centrist talks. Thousands protested in Vienna, fearing an extreme right shift. The focus of the negotiations will be the national budget. Critics worry about Russia's influence and threats to democracy. Opposition leader Peter Magyar vows to keep Hungary firmly in the EU and NATO if he wins the 2026 election. His centre-right TISA party is challenging Orbán's rule, with Magyar advocating for pragmatic relations with Russia and focusing on economic recovery. He plans to unlock frozen EU funds and address corruption. While supporting foreign investment, Magyar critiques Hungary's reliance on Chinese and Russian influence, emphasising economic sovereignty. Germany is considering deleting its presence on the X platform over concerns about its algorithms, which are said to promote polarising discourse, according to a government spokesperson. The debate comes amidst Elon Musk's growing support for far-right parties like the AfD, causing protests from institutions. For now, Germany remains on the platform to maintain access to a wide audience. The decision is unrelated to Musk's political involvement, the spokesperson clarified. The European Union will oversee X's compliance with laws ahead of Germany's February elections. A Swiss man accused of espionage has died by suicide in Semnan prison, Iranian state media has reported. The judiciary stated efforts to save him were unsuccessful. Swiss authorities confirmed his death, stating their embassy is liaising with Tehran. The man had been arrested by Iranian security forces and his case was under investigation. This adds to Iran's history of detaining foreigners on espionage charges. Switzerland remains a key intermediary between Tehran and Washington, handling diplomatic communications. That's all we have time for. We'll be back with more of your latest international news updates.